Welcome, Laker fans, to the Purple Blood Lakers podcast. For Laker fans, by Laker fans, we are again missing Donna, who is always right. She is off hobnobbing with fancy people. It's a good time for her to be doing that since the Lakers have sucked in the last few games. But we're delighted to have a special guest in the name of Sid. Welcome, Sid.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
What are your thoughts about the game?
Man, I mean, overall, I think it's fair to say I've watched every single Lakers game this season, and this was definitely the worst Lakers game of the season. I think we hit a pretty bad low when we faced the Timberwolves in the last game, but there was some explanations as to why that was the case. Wise, 3 games in 4 nights, second back to back. They got late into the city. So there was an explanation for that one. And here they dropped the ball even worse in that game without the same scheduling issue. So that was definitely a new low.
Yeah, we had at least Cam back, but we're still hurt by injuries, but that's no excuse.
Yep.
When I
Missing Jackson Hayes, missing Austin Reeves, missing Christian Woods, and still Vando.
Yeah, so I said after the last game, sort of I wasn't optimistic about this game against Miami Heat because their culture is about hustle and their culture
Yep.
is about and they've invested in that culture, they've invested in their players, they've had some stability on their roster, and those things that we haven't had. And so I wasn't optimistic at all. But it's still disappointing, especially to see Dalton Connect not be able to connect for now 2 or 3 straight games.
Hmm.
I still believe in him as a starting guard on our team, especially now that we don't have any hope of winning a championship. We might
Yep.
as well develop him like we didn't develop Christie. We might as well develop both of them now that I think about it, and continue the development of Austin. And this team just isn't a championship team. And as a Laker fan, that's all I'm interested in is rings. If we're not going to get rings, then let's work on next year's ring.
Yep, absolutely. I think regarding Dalton Connect, I think it's around that time where normally a rookie hits that rookie wall. I think he
Yep,
had some of his explosive outbursts when the league had not figured him out yet. They were
yep,
leaving him open more than they should.
yep,
Then he went off in that one game against Utah with I think it was 22 straight points.
yep.
And now that teams have figured him out, the scouting report is a little bit more adjusted to him. He's not getting the same looks. Again, he's traveling way more than he was previously in college. So it's about that time that he's hitting the rookie walls as rookies happen. So I'm not worried about him. I think eventually he'll do better when we keep going forward into the season.
I want the coaching staff to set more picks for him. Double picks like Steph gets. Rip Hamilton used to come off. You'd wonder how do they have 6 people on the team to set picks for Rip Hamilton. You probably don't remember, you're too young,
No,
but
I
he
remember it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That guy would come around 3 or 4 screens by the time he got the ball. And when he did, he was wide open and he just knocked down. It's mostly
Yep.
mid-range, but we could do the same thing at three-point line. I think Steph gets a lot of his. Who's not keying on Steph? And how does he get 30?
Yep.
And I think Dalton is that kind of shooter where you invest a big body like Rui in setting picks for a shooter like that. And I haven't seen enough of that from our coaching staff. And that's what I'm expecting next to get that guy loose.
For sure, for sure. It's gonna take some time, I think, because regarding the depth chart, I'm sure he's behind LeBron, he's behind AD, he's behind Austin Reeves and Rui for sure. But eventually, if we can run more plays for him to get him open, that'd be great.
Yeah, I've said this on the internet and gotten, people get so nasty on the internet, but
Hmm.
I want less minutes for LeBron. AD, I want him to step into his greatness.
Yeah.
3 for 14 in a game where we needed him. This is how many games in a row has he been less than he should have been? Is something
Yeah.
wrong with the guy? I don't know, but he got 31 minutes and 3 for 14. 8 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists.
Yep.
Um, you know, you start to
Minus
hear,
29 on the court.
well, everybody's a big minus, so that's
Yeah.
just the game win. But
But having a AD being the one with the worst, that should never happen on our team.
no, no, not the guy that's playing on both ends like him. And
Yeah.
so I got problem. I had problems with AD in the fourth quarter his whole Laker career. just not taking shots and wanting to
Hmm.
be a support guy in the fourth quarter. And it's like, no, we can't afford to have you hiding in the fourth quarter. I've always said that about him, but now not being able to get himself on track, missing a whole bunch of chippies. He allows pressure to push him out. I'm not going to go with the soft, guy plays as hard as he does. I don't think it's fair for him to be called soft, but I do think his momentum is more towards our rim than the other teams, and I'm really tired of that. I don't care if you're paying the 4 or 5, you still got to attack the rim.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, who's your dog of the game? I usually come up with this, but I'm gonna let you come up with it.
Man, I mean, there's not a lot of options for the dog of the game for this one. It's only specifically from the Lakers, correct?
Yes.
Yep. So the dog of the game has to be LeBron James for tonight. So LeBron started off in the first half with pretty good shooting. He started the first half shooting 8 of 11.
Mhm.
Started off in the first half with 18 points, finished with 29 points, I believe. Finally broke the streak and then finally made a three. So that was good to see. But he was also aggressive and got to the line 4 times. Again, there wasn't that many options of Laker players that played well today. I thought Rui was solid as well in the minutes that he played and was pretty aggressive as well. Whether it was back cutting or he had one play that he ended up on a spin move and got all the way to
Oh, what
the
a
layup.
nice quick move that was. It was
Yeah,
beautiful.
that was a great move.
Yeah.
So I would say honorable mention for him, but other than LeBron 29 points in 29 minutes, it was good to see. It was also a positive takeaway of today, even though there wasn't many, but it was good to see that he got back on track with his scoring a bit.
So you are truly filling in for Donna because you gave the positive takeaways. The dog of the game is the person that we don't like.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Okay,
I like
well,
the way you interpret dog of the game because that's what I
yeah,
like
yeah,
players
yeah.
with dog in them. So we might have to rename that segment. But
No, for sure. I can provide the dog of the game in the other way, and it's just as obvious. Then it's Anthony Davis.
yeah, it's got to be
Um,
AD.
Again, when we got a duo like that, especially how on this team we're relying so much on our duo, he's got to pull up and he's got to play well. And so you already mentioned his stats, but 8 points is not going to cut it. 7 rebounds is not going to cut it. We talk about his aggressiveness, which is something that at the beginning of the season was so good. And the biggest example of that that you can point to is going to the free throw line. His free throw attempts in recent games has been pretty horrific as opposed to the beginning of the season when he was leading the league in free throw attempts. He only
He
had
was shooting
four
12
today.
shots. Yep.
Exactly, exactly. He only had 4 today, so that has been concerning, and also what has been concerning is how much of a usage he's been getting. So if we were to like step away from AD and think about kind of like the team as a whole and maybe even the coaching staff, the usage rate that AD was getting at the beginning of the season was around 31%. And LeBron was getting about 26% usage rate. And in recent games, that's actually flipped. LeBron has been the one that's been getting about 31% usage rate, and AD's been the one that's been getting 26. So that just points to the fact that we were running the offense a lot more through Anthony Davis at the beginning of the season and a lot more successful. Our offense was number 4 rated in the NBA when we started the season. It's now dropped significantly. And I think you mentioned it a little bit that you wanted LeBron to get more minutes. I don't think it's necessarily due to the fact that he's getting more minutes or less minutes. I think he should have sat against the Timberwolves. I don't think he had no business playing in that game, but then there is also an explanation for that. We're so like thin when it comes to our forwards right now,
Yep.
that it's hard to actually make LeBron sit because then who else are you gonna, or are you just punting on the game,
Yep.
period. So, but as a result, I do think that the primary thing is like we need to run the offense a lot more through AD the same way that we did at the beginning of the season, so that that will probably help him get more touches. I mean, his field goal percentage has also dropped significantly, and I just think he's not touching the ball enough, especially in his spots. 3 for 14 is just not great. Even in the game against Utah, he had a good game there, and he shot over 25 shots. That's what he should be, especially right now when we're missing some of our big dogs.
Yep. Awesome analysis, Sid. I'm really impressed. What I want is less shots for Bron.
Hmm.
Less minutes. Just less. I want more assists out of Bron. When he gets 14 assists, I can handle the turnovers. But tonight he got 8 assists. Um, I thought it was 3 turnovers, but here we are with 5 again. Am I looking at the right thing? Oh my God.
Yep.
So
He had
that's his
a
average.
couple at the end.
5 assists, and that's just I like when the offense runs through AD. I think the rest of the team touches the ball more. And I D'Lo is able to find AD just as easy as Bron, but Bron gets out there and it's either him or AD. There's a lot of dribbling around and a lot of ISO and post up, and when you just watch the team, when LeBron has the ball, it's 4 people just standing. I
Hmm.
don't know how a coaching staff can tolerate that as often as we have that going on with the Lakers. So it's just disgusting. All right. So we've covered those two. You really talked about the positive takeaway. LeBron is back. It's good to see him hit a three. It's good to see him have a good game. I didn't like him smiling and laughing so much while we were getting our
Hmm.
butts kicked by 30 points. I don't know what that was about, but whatever that's about, I don't know. Let's talk about NBA rumors.
Okay. NBA rumors. I also wanted right before we get into NBA rumors to like touch on a little bit more notes from the game summary if possible.
Go ahead.
Okay, because I got a couple more that is just like unbelievable stats, unbelievable numbers right here. So in the first half, first of all, regarding our defense, which actually was pretty good recently as opposed to our offense, that's dropped significantly.
Yeah.
Today, our defense was atrocious. And so the Heat, which is usually a team that averages around 110 points a game, this season, we allowed them to score 69 points in the first half, which was
Yep.
the most that they scored this season.
Yep.
In the first half, 4 players in the starting lineups for the Heat was in double figures, which again was the most this season for the Heat.
And a
And
half. I think that's
yeah,
the
in
most
the
we've
half.
given up this year too.
That's possible as well. That one, I don't know for sure, but that's possible. And then we also gave up 11 threes made in the first half. Then for the third quarter, it gets even worse actually, because we gave up the most points allowed for the Heat that they scored in the first half. And then they followed it up in the third quarter by scoring the most points in a single quarter that they scored. I believe it was 36 in the third quarter, which got them again, their average is 110 points per game in a game this season. They had 105 at the end of the third quarter, which the third quarter, like I said, was their highest scoring of the season. They ended up then the Heat with tying a franchise record in threes made today with 24 and having a franchise record in assists. So they ended up with 2 offensive franchise record
Ugly.
in the same game for the history of the franchise of the Heat, which includes the Heatles era with LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh as well. Uh,
Nice one.
so it's
There's
actually
nothing wrong with that,
unbelievable.
bro.
Like it is arguably the best offensive night in Heat franchise because they had 2 franchise record. That's how bad defensively the Lakers were. And so at this point, I'm only giving also stats that reached the third quarter because I kind of took the fourth quarter out because at that point it was just over and just
I turned it
extra
off.
stuff.
Hero had a crazy night. He just was
Crazy
unstoppable.
night. To include him, I believe he had 7 threes in the third quarter. At the
Mhm.
beginning of the third quarter, he had 5 of them in like the first 4 minutes. And when I looked at it, only 4 of them were contested. And then at that point, when we started contesting it, it was over. He was just making it, and it was also nothing but net. But
Yeah,
that
yeah.
also ties a franchise record in Heat history for threes in the quarter by Tyler Hero in the third today. So a lot of franchise record by the Heat today. That's how poor this game was by the Lakers. Just to put
Sid,
it in context.
you got to come back, man. That's some really good stats. That's
Yeah.
beautiful stuff.
Yeah. And then I also like had negative takeaways for the team. I thought the Lakers look slow, they look small, they look unathletic, which is weird to say against the Miami Heat because they're not the most athletic team. If that had happened against the Timberwolves, it makes sense.
Yeah.
If that happened against Utah, it also makes sense. They're starting almost 3 7-footers in that lineup, and we are starting D'Lo and Gabe Vincent and Dalton Connect. So we would look small against a team like that. It happened against Denver, which we always look small against Denver. We couldn't shoot the ball from the field. We started in the first half 3 of 13 from 3, which is a horrible percentage.
Mhm.
And also AD, just to back him up slightly, even though he was the dog of the game, like we only have one dependable big. Like at some point, we also got to look at the roster and say there's no way that Anthony Davis is our only big on this roster. The one that's backing him up right now is Christian Coloco, who has been out for almost a year due to
Yep.
blood and heart issues. So the fact that he's our second big is actually pretty ridiculous at this point in of the
Yeah.
season. And also, yeah, I think you touched on it a little bit. I thought the team was lacking energy and specifically positive energy. And for example, I looked at the body language. No one on the team, absolutely no one was expressive, positive body language. There's maybe Armel Traore, who's a G League player that's currently playing for us from France. Shout out to
Yep.
France,
Yep.
that is actually providing like some energy when he's on the court, but he's also doesn't have the talent to match the energy. And he shouldn't be the one that's like bringing the energy. We need someone else in that starting lineup to show some care, some effort that would make us be a team that is better in the long run.
I like what Rui's doing with what they give him. I just want the offense to find him a little bit more.
Absolutely. I
I
agree with
love
that
him.
too.
I think he's got a beautiful shot. I think he's got a big body. And I think he's getting better on defensive end. And that's one last thing, since we're extending a bit.
Yep, go ahead.
Dalton on D is worse than I thought. I thought he was, he's kind of a big guy and he plays bigger than he is. I thought he would be okay sooner on D.
Hmm.
But this is the NBA, and they're
Yeah,
hunting him and they're finding him, and
absolutely.
down low they're just eating him alive.
Down low and on the perimeter.
Yeah, true, true. So I just I'm disappointed but I'm patient with him. I don't want him taken out of starting lineup. Whoever comes back, I still want him starting.
Yep.
And I think he'll look better when the rest of the team comes around.
Yep, I agree.
So, all right, what rumors are you hearing about the NBA?
So there's some trade rumors that I've been hearing. So Brandon Ingram is currently in his situation with the Pelicans, and it's not looking quite good. Obviously, he's been someone. Yes, go ahead.
He just signed with Clutch.
Yes, exactly. I was just about to mention that. So he just left his representation at CAA, which Zion did as well at the same time, I believe, but just signed with Clutch. So there's been some rumors
Yep.
connecting him with the Lakers. I think I just saw a poll also recently. It's one of those betting polls that say that one of the leaders to actually sign him in a trade for example during the season would be the Lakers. And I think the primary reason is that connection with Clutch. LeBron signed to Clutch, AD signed to Clutch as well. So it's a possibility. Then there's also like the fact that New Orleans doesn't really want to trade no more with the Lakers as much since the AD trade,
Yep.
especially because right after the AD trade, it led to a championship for the Lakers.
Yep.
So maybe that will be some pushback that may not make that trade happen. But that is one rumor that I've heard about recently and one that is pertaining to the Lakers.
He's not a good fit. He's not going to make us a championship team. We need a bigger body and we need better defense and we need to be on the other side of AD. Putting yet
Hmm.
another, almost AD type guy in front of him is good. But I'll take 25 points. Problem is, you won't get 25 points out of Brandon Ingram on this team.
Yep.
Not with LeBron, as you said, having a 31% usage rate. So
Yep.
I hope we don't do it. I don't think it would be a smart thing to do, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did it just to generate some excitement and get some more points on the board.
Yeah, at this point, though, you hit on 2 points. The way our offense is looking, it would be great to have a 20-point scorer out there because my God, we need it. But at the same time, he's someone that needs the ball in his hands. So you also touched on that. Like it would be difficult for him to produce as well that he is producing currently with the New Orleans Pelicans, which he's doing that with almost a G League squad over there too, because of how much like the Pelicans are injured. So that's impressive in that case. But still, I don't think it will be a great fit either. It just depends on if there's anything better out there. But Lakers desperately need a trade going
We got to
forward.
find a big somewhere. The only two I keep
Yeah,
hearing about that make sense to me are the guy out of Utah
yeah, Kessler,
and the guy out of I think Toronto, Portal.
Podol. Hmm.
So one of those to me would make sense if we can do it for without giving up. certainly we're not giving up 2 draft picks for either of those guys.
Yeah, I
Uh,
hope not.
we might have to part with one to have a piece that can last for a while and let AD do what he wants to do, which is play the four and fade away. And
Yep.
uh, if he wants to do that, it seems to hurt him too much to get down in there and bang around. So it's time for us to recognize that we got one chip when he had two gigantic guys down there taking all that beating so that he could float around. And so if we expect to get another chip, we should probably repeat that formula.
Yep. I agree with that take.
All right, so we're playing the Atlanta Hawks next. What are the keys to the game? It seems like they're a little hot right now. Scary.
Yeah, it's not the best time to be facing the Atlanta Hawks. I think they just won again today against the Bucks. Let me double check. The game is currently going on, I think. 115 to 101, and there's 2 minutes left. So they're up in Milwaukee, I believe. And they
Ooh,
just beat the Cavs also in back-to-back
ooh.
games when the Cavs were at that time 17-1 and had only lost one game to the Boston Celtics. The Atlanta Hawks are doing well recently. The good thing that we can look at is also that they've had some really bad losses. Because in the same token that they beat the Cavs twice back to back, they've also lost to the Wizards back to back, and those are the only two wins the Wizards have this season, if I'm not wrong about that. But again, currently they're on a hot streak. So the keys to that game, in my opinion, would be energy, energy, energy for the Lakers. That's been something that's been lacking. I don't know if it's something that's actually realistic for us to have just because of the way that they've been during this road trip. The schedule has been a nightmare. If you think about it, they've almost had like a 10-game road trip because they only came back for one game, which was
Yep,
weird scheduling wise to do against
yep,
OKC right after Thanksgiving. So it's almost like it doesn't count because then they went back on the road right after.
yep.
But whatever energy they can summon, they're gonna need it because the Hawks is one of the highest team pace in the league in the top five. So that be more focused as well, be more in tune in the game plan defensively, and also defensively be more in sync and communicate with each other because there was a lot of free baskets for the Heat today. So you got to limit those miscues. The Hawks are also one of the best teams with perimeter scoring, so you're going to need to limit their perimeter scoring as much as possible, and somehow, some way, limit their threes because again, we just allowed the Heat to tie a franchise record when it comes to threes. And rebound the basketball. We're going to need to rebound the basketball as much as possible. So those are my defensive ones, and then offensively. I think that the guards that we have are going to have to score. Again, they have one of the best perimeter scoring in the league. We're going to have to try to match that as much as possible, or else we're just going to get outscored from the perimeter. And AD has to be involved. Like, we got to get him the ball. We talked about it, but he's got to touch the ball.
Connect should be able to get hot because Trey is not going to play any D. He doesn't. He's not interested in that.
Yep.
And the other thing we can't do is turn the ball over because they'll run you off the court.
Yep. Great one. Great one. Don't turn the ball over. We're screwed. Like, if we have more than 15 turnovers against the Hawks, we lose that game. I can bet it right here.
Well, Sid, I'm so delighted to have you on the program. It's been absolutely awesome. You are so well prepared, and we will
Yep.
welcome you back anytime. This is the Purple Blood Lakers podcast for Laker
Also, I
fans
came
by
prepared even
Laker
with the
fans.
shirt.
I got the purple shirt. That's the best I could do today.
I'm not gonna lie, halfway through that game, I almost took it off. I was like, maybe this ain't the day. But here we are.
All right. And once again, try our best to go Lakers. Let's just do the best we
Yes,
can.
sir.
All right.